go. Hey, everybody. Susan Finch here, your host today for SLMA Radio, which is for sales lead management. And we all need to learn how to do that better. But I am super excited. My guest today is David Ledgerwood, but we call him Legend. You guys know that. He is a managing partner in Ad10, a company that helps his clients, their clients, and they boost sales to 6 and 7 digits in terms of their annual growth. And their company is the missing piece that you have. They provide that clear and cut strategy, and they aid in operations, execution, all that type of thing. So we're going to talk with Ledge about a few of the pieces that are very big and pronounced on his website that really caught my attention. When I came across him, I thought, here's somebody that knows how to do it. And I want him to give you tips, tell you his insights, and maybe some of the things that he has learned from his competitors. So Ledge, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
A fabulous intro. Thank you so much. You clearly have a background in marketing. So.
That is my job, make people look good online. So I try
I appreciate it. I feel much better. But the validation has pumped me up.
So I'm going to dive right into this, and we will talk about what we're going to cover first in this episode. And folks, we're going to be talking about his phraseology on his site that says, don't analyze or strategize. Get on real calls and close real deals with real prospects. And you know, here at Sales Lead Management Radio and at some of the other shows that we have, that is what we are all about. And I learn from all of our hosts and our experts and their guests every week. And this is not going to be any different. So Ledge, I'm hearing from salespeople all over the place that they are happier, that more people are picking up the phone. Duh, people have time right now. But many times, as we know, it's because they don't have the typical screening they had before. They are lonely to talk to people and not Zoom with them. And possibly they might be a viable lead. What are you finding about these real calls?
Yeah, I love getting on Zoom, and we did this anyway, so before pre-pandemic, it's funny, the conversations have shifted a lot because maybe, November 2019, a lot of the prospects or companies that we would talk to about doing their sales for them, they would say, oh, you could never sell what I do on Zoom. It's got to be personal. We got to be at the table. So that tune has changed a lot. I'm not gloating. I want everybody to do well, but to say the conversation shifted in the last year is accurate. It is true that I have been reading on the outbound channel strategy, the cold calling SDR type of world that apparently now that people are picking the phone up, and you're right, maybe there's a little bit more space in the schedule, desire for human contact, what have you. My world always picks up after SDR. So we're the closer types. So qualification would have happened, meetings would have been set. There would have been a specific reason to show up and talk to me or one of our closer type colleagues. So I guess I see it as the, after the qualification and after all that outbound effort has happened. God bless the SDR and the cold caller. You do things that I don't want to do. I appreciate the setup. I think of that as the assist in basketball, super important. So you get the people that reach out on email and the teams that do the LinkedIn and the calling and all that stuff. We bow down to you. You do the hard part.
But are you seeing it as different, as a shift in now what's being provided to you to help them close? Has that changed in quality? Has that increased in success because they are warmer, more, personal leads because people are spending more time together?
I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know that I've thought about it that way. So I think there's maybe on a more macro sense, there's a warmness and openness that people are having to face now. I mean, just a year and a half ago, it was like, it went viral, when some guy's kid crawls in behind him and he's doing a video call at home. And now it's just like everybody's kids are home,
Yeah.
my kids will probably pop in and behind me in the curtain here. I think there's a humanness that, that's contributing to at least to the idea that conversations can be more valuable. I do see that happening. Have I seen the quality of sales calls change? I don't know. I don't know that I could say yes or no. And I'm so far down the funnel in my world that however they got qualified in the first place, maybe it's going easier for the top of funnel folks now. But, I don't know. In my seat, they've always been qualified when they got there. I have seen different channels seem to work better in this environment. So the phone has ticked up and LinkedIn and email has ticked down a little bit. And I think that's because at the beginning of the pandemic, everybody freaked out and they're like, geez, all our systems aren't going to work anymore. So let me start sending LinkedIns to everybody. Let me send emails to everybody. I think there was a saturation there. So you can see that spike in a lot of the stats. And I think the smart people, the contrarians among us in the sales world, went and said, well, nobody's probably calling their cell phone right now. So if I can get their cell phone and dial, that's really good. I have also seen, and I always did this, but I've seen that text message responses, personalized text messaging can really be a really good tool for, getting that initial meeting and just sending some valuable stuff. Obviously don't abuse that, and make sure that you're kind of following the rules. More so than email, I will often try to shift the conversation to text. And I do find that that's quite a bit more effective for sorting through, because I think everybody has 80,000 unread emails right now. And that's kind of pretty overwhelming.
So you are definitely somebody that likes to learn by doing.
Yes.
And you see that and rapid iteration as key to revenue success, correct?
Yes, I do. In the same way that you might have thought about lean startup or the way that you ought to validate anything you're doing on the product standpoint, we just took that into the sales conversation realm as well. And we believe that is really important. It's a key part of the system of becoming effective at closing, I think, for sure.
So after you've worked with some of your clients and you've helped them close these deals, what are some of the follow-up benefits, the follow-up enjoyment that you get by continuing to work with these same clients? You've already proven what you can do. You're good at what you do. You close them, you walk them along the way, and you partner with them. Is there ever a point that you get with a client and it's like, we've done all we can do for you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we want to build people enough money that they can build their own internal sales department or division or revenue division if they want to. Okay. So my proposition has always been, you get to this point as a founder, and this is where very particularly for the types of clients we work with. So B2B services and tech companies. I'm not speaking for every type of business. That's what we deal with. And founders can generally, if you have product market fit, you have a pretty decent thing, you're ready to scale a little bit, you can get your revenue by yourself without a lot of systems into that mid 6-figure kind of range annually. Once you do that as a founder, you're going to start to feel the burdens of running and scaling a business in all the areas all around you. And so at that point, you're going to say, well, I really wish that I could scale up sales, but you're going to plateau because you can't do all the things. And, you're just thinking about operations, and you're thinking about marketing, and you're thinking about sales and finance, and you have to be the integrator at that point. So that's a fork in the road that a lot of founders get to, and they say, oh, this must be the point I'm supposed to hire a VP of sales. And I think the instinct is right. The instinct is you need help. Then you discover like, well, wow, that's really expensive, or I can't do that, or how do I hire? Or this VP of sales is going to cost you like fully loaded, $250,000 a year. Well, that's like half your revenue. Clearly that's not going to work. So a lot of people make the mistake of like, oh, let me hire somebody with a Rolodex because they're going to bring in sales real fast. They're not, because you have no sales system. You probably haven't built your CRM the right way. You have no lead flow. Your funnels are broken. Like all the things that you took for granted that you just kind of did out of your brain. There's no system there. That's revenue operations. It doesn't exist. The other thing people do is they kind of go, oh, well, since I can't afford that, let me just get an SDR, and I'll throw an SDR on the phone and they'll just start calling people and everything will be great. Also wrong, because you have no sales enablement. You have no revenue plan. You don't know anything about like how to train that person because, again, you took for granted that you were just sort of the founder who could close all the deals. You got it this far. The problem is there's not really a great answer at that point. I said, well, let's build that answer, because I've been in that seat several times where I got to that point. I was that founder who I went the sales direction. I had to find an operator to run my company. A lot of folks don't want to do the sales only. They want to be the operator, which leaves the sales part open. And I have found, at least in the profile of the companies that we work with, again, B2B services tech, you do not really have the money to hire your whole sales division and a VP of sales in the traditional sense until you're really at that, like, mid 7-figure kind of range. So there was that space, that sort of order of magnitude between 500 grand a year and 5 million a year.
Right.
And that's where the idea of add 10 came from, just a pithy, fun kind of way to say 10x. The space between those two values is the place where you should have a fractional VP of sales, which kind of doesn't exist the way that I wanted it to exist. So we built that. And you should build your revenue plan and revenue operations such that all your systems work together. You built a nice system, it flows, it scales, you can deliver, everything moves from top of funnel to bottom of funnel. Let's build and document all that stuff, and let's provide the closers. I didn't want to be a consultant anymore. I don't want to get paid for advice. I want to get paid for revenue. If we bring you money, let's all get paid together. If we don't, that's a bad thing. So God bless all the consultants and sales coaches, been there, done that, don't want to do it anymore. If you want somebody to actually close deals, that's what we're interested in doing. And apparently we're unique, and I don't know why, because we like closing deals and we like money. So.
Because it's an accountability thing.
Maybe.
And that's a scary thing for people. But to me, if there's not that accountability, how can you go to sleep at night just taking people's money and never providing any proof that what you're doing is any good? And that was the other thing that I appreciated about your company and your methods. Like, oh, this is different. This is not just training, guiding, holding their hands, getting them all set. This is, you make money or we don't make money. So
I appreciate the validation. Yeah, this made sense to me. I'm just, I think there's a place to buy coaching and advice. I think that, in a sense, you're buying the mentorship and experience, on a fractional basis. Like there's good things for that. I think it's a fallacy that sales maybe happens that way. I've been closing deals for a decade, millions and millions and millions and millions of deals. And I don't believe that I could train anyone fast to do that, because it's primarily a pattern recognition exercise, and you either have the experience or you don't. Yeah, you can get people to come along for the ride and maybe learn a little bit, but the idea that you could do that in 3 or 6 months and some kind of engagement, or there's a plan behind it or a system, I don't buy it, and I don't think anybody else should buy it, either. So
the other piece, you keep talking about fractional, and I appreciate this. One of the hosts that we produce a show for is the practical CMO. And that's exactly what they are. They step in as the CMO at different companies. And I'm seeing this more and more as a trend. I'm actually a fractional CMO for 4 different companies, because they don't have the full-time need. They don't have the full-time budget.
Right.
And so it's more on a quarterly or as needed basis. And then I, disperse what the plan is and let them handle it internally. But you're tackling that in a whole different area and bringing, what I love is that you have different levels. So many times companies that are in a similar space to you, not you, because I'm not seeing anybody in your space yet precisely, but they have, here's the plan. This is, and you're going to pay us this much, and this is what we do, and that's it. It's all or nothing. And we're not going to quite tell you everything we're going to do. Just trust us. We're going to do these things, and these things are good, and you don't know how to do these things, but we know how to do these things. And I really appreciate how you guys at Add 10 spell out the 3 levels of service. I'm one of those that does that on my same website. People think I'm crazy because I'll put my rates in different, well, if I do this, it costs this much. And I spell it out, because if you can't afford me or don't want what I do, we're not a fit.
Right.
And why would any of us want to waste the time if we aren't a fit and we already can figure that out right away? So your 3 levels, your expert, expand, and experience, are wonderful and so easy to understand.
Well, thank you.
And simple to get behind. And we know experience is going to be the most expensive. It's the longest list. Duh. And it's right. You start and you just go up from baby bear to papa bear. And I really appreciate your transparency, your clarity, and what you're bringing to your clients and potential clients right up front. It says so much about you.
Well, thank you for all that. You're super kind. It was an iteration to get that in fact, finding, in fact, after I don't know, 6 months in business, we kind of went back and said, I wonder what we actually do versus what's on the website. And it turned out, that we had to go through that exercise. And I think everybody should go through that exercise over 6 to 9 months of saying, do we still do the thing that we think we're selling? Because it turned out, that middle package there, which is called expand, that wasn't even a thing, so we found out that clients were asking for that. So at the beginning, they were totally different. And clients were asking for that service. So again, by being iterative and taking the feedback from the field, we were able to build an entirely different offering that we didn't even know that anybody would want that. I don't think we even knew RevOps as a service could be a thing. Maybe it wasn't a thing, and we just said, oh, look at that. Like if you carve off that piece, it was the part we thought was just the fat around the steak. And it turns out it was kind of like the steak and not the sizzle or whatever, So I guess I'd say that, yes, you can be clear with what you do. And yes, you're right about niching. We have a really tight niche. And this took me 13 startups and many more years to even figure out. So if there's any advice for the founders out there, it's like niche to the point that it's like ridiculously uncomfortable and even hard to explain how small your market is. Because I just want people to show up and I know where they fit or they don't.
Right.
And every one of those clients that's the right fit is the right thing to do. And I would encourage all our clients and all your listeners to do that. Niche to the point that it's uncomfortable. Don't be worried you're going to turn away revenue. You don't want the revenue that doesn't fit. Be ready to fire clients that don't fit, because you're going to really make a lot more money on the ones that are good. So
you can, and that is hard. And I'm constantly revamping and revisiting, and I don't always get it right either on my own sites. But it's exactly what you said. Not only is this what we are actually selling, but is this what we want to do?
There is a lot of that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's so many things people would pay me to do, but I hate doing them.
Right.
Oh my God.
And it could be out of your zone, or like, so I look at a lot of those things. Like I hate top of funnel. I don't want to be a marketer. I really I can do it, but we honestly look at that stuff like top of funnel, like it's just not our thing. But I know people need leads, and I know people need cold calling, and they need marketing and branding. And it's just like, so let's make some partnerships where everybody that I work with is going to come in and ask for that stuff. All of them. Let's make some ideal partnerships where we can just cross-sell and bring in partners to work with. I don't want to do outbound channel development, but I can't exist unless a client has meetings. So something needs to make meetings book on the calendar whereby we pick up and start closing deals. And they can either bring their own, or if they don't have it, and most don't, cool, I have this slate of partners that we can bring in, and we can straight up sell you and manage the whole thing, but it's not our company. I don't need to deal with that. I don't want to do those things. I don't want to know anything about that. Get meetings on the calendar so I can close you money. And we built partnerships for that. And honestly, like we're good at selling, and the partners love it because we bring in a bunch of business for them that they wouldn't have had. So
right.
Just look at the constellation of stuff that you need. And if it's a tangent service, it's like find somebody that you trust to do it, but don't try to vertically integrate all that stuff. Like it's a nightmare. And just do what you do and do it great. And I think that is really the most important thing you can do as a service provider.
I agree. And I'm going to take your advice to heart. Last year I bought Funnel Media Group, which was a company I helped build. But the person that founded it wanted to retire. And I thought, I put all this good work into, I'm going to take it over, but I wanted to grow it and revamp it and turn it into something that I was leaning toward anyway. But I'm still in the process of sorting through those services, defining them better, and being ready to say, your show really isn't a fit for our network, or your episode isn't, or it's not what we do best. Give me real estate, give me B2B, give me some other things. That's my fit. But some of these others, like, I wish you luck.
Right. Like the Rocking Horse Collector, podcast, like just not my jam. Right. Like, I don't know, like, I don't know where that I don't even know why that came in my head, but I get it. And, The thing is, I'm a super nerd, right? I'm interested in everything. Like I want to get a PhD in like particle physics, whatever, later on, but that doesn't fit my business right now. That's not how I make money. And I think there's a difference between focus and hobbies. And it's good, have some hobbies, but it doesn't all fit your thing. Like, so can you make money on this is a business decision, and you don't need to get emotional about it. People ask us all the time. It's interesting because clients will come to us and say, are you passionate about what I provide? Are you passionate about this business? And like, no, I'm not passionate at all. You know what I'm passionate about? I'm passionate about making you revenue so that you can be passionate about what you do. I want to pour gas in the machine for you. But no, I'm not passionate about the thing you provide, because if I was, I would start the business and do it.
Exactly.
And, so people will try to, it's funny, sometimes folks will try to negotiate and say, well, if you're really passionate about it and you want to be involved in this, maybe you can cut your rates. And no,
No.
like I'm not at all. I'm passionate at the price I just quoted you, because I'm going to make you millions of dollars. And that's what I'm passionate about. We build revenue machines, like the end. That's what we do. And it's just interesting where this idea of, I have some videos about this that I just put out, passion's not enough. I don't care about passion as the end result of a business. Passion can be your hobbies, your passion project. That's what people call it. Let's make cash flow positivity. And if you want to donate all the profits after you have them in the bank, that's awesome. Go ahead and do that. It's too easy to make a startup now where you don't make any money, that we forget
It is
that you're supposed to be here to make money.
And people do forget that process. I mean, you probably run across founders all the time like this, that run across a process that didn't exist. They didn't do the research. They didn't come up with a plan. They think because I can go on LegalZoom, I can go over here and sign up for this, and I can create all these things and put the paperwork together and check off the boxes. And here's my mission statement. I have these 5 people that I love, and they're going to be involved too. I don't know what they're doing yet, but they're going to be involved. And we'll make it fit because we're passionate and we're going to make it work. And I've seen so many businesses just trying to hone in. ADD runs rampant with idea people, and it does. And I feel sometimes my job is just constantly throwing the lasso and like pulling them back down.
I'm an idea person. I love this. I got notebooks full of ideas of bad startups,
me too.
And I finally learned to stop pumping $500,000 into each one of my crappy ideas. So there's don't do it, and I was told 13 years ago, if I just would focus and do one thing, I'd make a lot of money. I wish I listened, and finally I'm telling people, like, just focus. And that's the niche. And that's the, just precision on your operations. Again, maybe it's just the pattern recognition, I just, people like, oh, wow, you've been successful, and like your wisdom. And I'm like, no, man, I've screwed this up so many times that at least I have like the basic twitch when I start to do it wrong again. And I think that's what matters. So if you are a new founder, your first or second go around, try to just pair up and learn on somebody else's dime. I have another article about that. Hang out with founders and watch the total disaster that we can make if we don't have things right. And imagine that you just burned up your money doing that.
Right.
So just learn. There's so many opportunities to do it better. And it is too easy to play house and fake it. You could set up a domain, a website, all the stuff, buy a bunch of SaaS products. Yay, we have a business. But you don't. You just built a pretend thing. That's what I call playing house. And it's too easy to do that now.
It is. Ledge, that's a great place to end our first episode. Folks, we're going to have parts 2, 3, and 4 coming with David Ledgerwood. Ledge. And we are loving this visit, and we're going to keep learning from him and bantering about some of our wins and losses and learning from that experience, and hoping that you guys will too, because you don't have to fail as many times as we both have and be successful. You can just do it once or twice, but you do need to do it a little bit. Just do it fast, as they always say. Fail fast, get on to the next thing. Let's go. And I know that, Ledge, you agree with this, that it really isn't failing. It's just gathering that knowledge and information to do it better the next time.
making sure I recognize what not to do, you know.
So, with red lights and sirens.
Right.
How can they find you?
David Ledgerwood on LinkedIn. That's the place that I spend the most social time. And our company is add10 ADD1 zero.co. And there's a contact form, and you can find us. And any way you want to reach out, we're happy to hear from you and hang out.
Terrific. Thank you so much for being a guest today.
It's so fun to be here. Thank you.